Welcome back to the Board Pod. This week's been massive, hasn't it, Von? We've covered three things that we've learnt this week that has just completely opened our eyes again. It's been one of those weeks where we just pick up things, and I think it'd be a great episode to share them.
Definitely. It's one of those things where until you go through the lived experience again, you then realize and recognize how important something is. I think the first one we should kick off is, and it's a little bit, you be the decider if you think this is super engaging or not, but I believe in the content space for B2B and being able to educate people on your products is so important. And maybe you can talk into this a little bit more, Sam, because you had a story this week that really connects to this.
Yeah, I was chatting to a marketing manager yesterday, and we were talking about her product and how the customer sells, and they said, "Oh, when you sign up and you buy this very expensive device, you get access to a training asset." And I said, why do they have to sign up and buy the product before they can get access to how to use it? Why don't you just give it away for free? I'm like, oh, it's a sales tool. It's a sales tool. It's like, well, they're not buying the training. The training is the content. And particularly the way people buy in 2025, they want to know how the product works, how they use it. They want to see how they're going to be able to actually make it work, particularly in the B2B space. I think we've been so used to that in the B2C, or as a consumer, we watch YouTube videos of how to use a camera or apply a makeup. But in the business world, the products can become so niche and tailored to a certain industry. There isn't that suite of content producers to support you,
Yeah.
and businesses make it. But I need them. Well, the realization was like, give that content to the customer so they can see themselves using it. And
Correct.
and the marketing manager said to me, she said, you know, when someone says something to you and you start questioning why you've always done it and you don't have a good answer, it was one of those moments. And it was a reminder to me again of just like how important content is in the B2B space.
Yes.
And it's almost like 10 years behind the
Yes.
consumer space.
But I think if you're a business owner or you're working in, marketing or whatever division that you're in, working in a business, the importance of content to educate people is a game changer. So if you're working, let's say you've got a plumbing business, you can be thinking about all the different ways that you can walk through your suite of services. Or once someone onboards with you, what are the different things that they can receive to feel like they're educated across the entire journey? Even down to our business. So we run a marketing agency. There would be so many different videos that we could make to educate customers, down to a glossary of terms, or of course your setups, or even just how to interpret a report. Oh, it's gotten me so inspired. And now for like a goal this year for 2025, it's going to be around this content creation for all of our kind of like ways of operating our business to educate our customers better.
It's funny because we actually have a bunch of content. It reminded me of our business. Like we have content videos that we send to customers who are onboarding. Like, why is this behind the onboarding process? We could have all a bit like the
Oh,
glossary.
we're doing it too.
I was just like, I just in this moment realized that we're doing it as well. It's like going back to that glossary of key terms as a video. So that should just be available for people.
Oh, so
who-
true. Yeah, why am I waiting till they're a customer? That should be public knowledge.
So the takeaway for me, and I knew this, but didn't realize how apparent it was until I've had like multiple conversations now where it's the same problem. It's like, I want customers to engage with us. It's fine when I get them on the phone, they buy straight away. It's like, yeah, well, you're giving them the education,
Yeah, upon education, definitely.
but they're browsing and they can't find the information. Like if I can't understand your product when I'm first talking to you, it means the customer can't either.
Yeah.
And so rather than spending all this time going out and trying to run advertising and doing all that section first, get your house in order. Make it really easy for the customers who are actually considering buying from you.
Absolutely. Clarity and being able to have a very clear, you are offering this and they will receive this, and they feel so educated across the entire buying process can make all of the difference.
Yeah, so we need to make a heap of content for our business on this topic specifically of like how to work with us. And I think it's really good timing
So fun.
because we're in the process of rebuilding parts of our systems.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it's a really good time for us to go, okay, cool. But it's going to pull the camera in here and do exactly this for certain parts of our business.
And I do recommend even just filming all different parts of your processes for your business, because AI is obviously among us and upon us in great scale. And these AI agents, so AI agents being that they can do stuff on behalf of you. So, say if you want to book a meeting at a dinner place, you can be able to have the AI agent source all the different places, assess all the different prices, assess all the different times, and then they can come back and have a booking done for you. Huge. This can also be applied to the different processes that you have in your business. So that's something where I think filming and documenting every single thing that you are doing in your business can pay off in dividends as AI continues to develop.
Interesting. How do you organize that in a business? Like, you've got the videos, and what do you
Yeah.
do? Just drop them in a drive, or how are you thinking about if you're gonna use the AI agents?
I mean,
How do you make it easy for them to find it?
well, you would set them into different categories. You would put things into, say, new business or customer, retention. You could put it into what would be different categories? Operations.
Are you filing them away in a certain way, using a software to do that? Like, how are you thinking about storing this information? Because I think that's
Of
full well and good
course.
to film stuff, but it's like, look at your camera roll.
Yeah, look, it could be as simple as a document, like as in a Google Doc, where you have different sections with different headings and then different categories that unfold and categorize it as simple as that. It's a free software to use and what works best for them to consume the information.
Mhm. I think, like, what's gonna end up happening is, I mean, it's already happening. You can use the take Gemini, Google's AI platform. It is able to go into your Google Documents
Yeah.
and your Google Drive and
Yeah.
these places. What I think is gonna be more important, particularly if you're gonna make, going back to the purpose of what we're talking about here, if you're making content in your business about how your business runs so that you can use AI agents to do the activity for you,
Mm.
you need to store it in a way that is easy for it to use and access.
Yes,
And
correct.
so to do that well, having a good playbook
Yes.
that is indexed properly
Yes.
so that you can direct an agent to go, okay, run this playbook.
Yes. And you can even put into AI to be able to help you structure what that playbook can look like for your business. Obviously, it's a guide. Make sure it's comprehensive and native to your exact offering and how you want to be able to use it. I would also recommend as well to use Loomly, not Loomly, Loom
Loom is our
software.
software for
Yeah.
scheduling socials, but
Yes.
yes, Loom.
Loom, and be able to talk through it and actually have the steps that way. Because I think writing the steps is one thing, but actually having a video that can show it, I believe that for the AI agents in the future will be a much more effective way to have them create the outcome that you want.
Yeah. I think what's important here is making sure you're putting things in a way that is not a dump folder of
Mm.
garbage that hasn't been considered and structured. The tip that I got, and I was listening to one of the leaders in AI agents, is close your eyes, tell yourself the instructions that you're going to give the AI agent, and try and figure out, with the limited information that it has, what would you do? And so doing that process, it's like giving someone blind instructions. You're going to expect that it's going to understand your subcontext in your brain, but to do that well, you need to direct it to somewhere it can get the information from. It's not just going to be able to think like you to start. So you need to index well.
I definitely recommend it.
One of the risks, or people are going back and forth on at the moment, is what is the risk from an IP perspective? And giving this information away for free, it's very quick to copy people now because you can build things quickly. There's not
Mm.
this like time barrier that used to exist in business before these AI tools became available. You can reproduce something in what, 20, 30 minutes that used to take you 6 to 12 months.
So
So
true.
the speed to copy is quicker. So protecting your IP is going to become increasingly more important. I think when it comes to the playbooking, having an internal playbook that is really effective doesn't need to be shared publicly. And if you're paying for the right subscriptions within the AI models and you're hosting it locally and it's training on your data and your data only after it's finished the general training, you can then protect your IP in that sense. Don't just go punching it into the open source version of ChatGPT, or not the open source, the publicly facing. Get a paid subscription for a business so that at least that information is retained. When it comes to the content marketing side of your business, giving away that information to customers, yes, you're opening yourself up to competitors copying you.
Mm.
And so if the content is your IP, your business is probably at risk because customers expect the information and training as an upfront piece to be able to make a good decision so that they don't feel like they're getting, because someone else will do it for them and give them that information and IP. So if it's not you, it's going to be someone else. So your IP doesn't really matter. It's not really a good enough barrier.
It's a great point.
You're probably going to get copied. So you need to constantly be pushing the barrier there.
Yeah. And working on your brand.
Exactly.
Because I think brand and all of the other things that you do auxiliary to the product is what's going to really continue to have people buy in. Because you might have, this person down the street that's also come out with a very similar end product. But if you can really win in the content marketing game, that could be the reason that they pick you over another. I know that particularly in SaaS, so software as a service, I will definitely heavily consider the brands or the SaaS companies that are investing in content on YouTube and just overall education in general. Even though they are giving a lot of it away, I know that they are. And that's what makes me want to buy into them so much more because they're really thinking about the customer first and not about their secrets. And also, you can just, as a competitor, as a SaaS company, sign up to their product and know their product.
Yeah,
The barrier for IP is low.
Features aren't a differentiator in SaaS, even in any business. The only businesses that really have protective moats around their product is medical, because you have to go through so many regulatory steps, and the businesses with massive capital investments like mining companies. You can't just go find a mine that produces iron ore down the street. You have to spend years of building that. SaaS, a feature can be built in a month. So product doesn't matter. I think this content marketing thing has always been big in SaaS because it's people consume information in the digital channel. Content marketing can also apply to places like wellness studios and forklift companies, or I don't know, pick your poison.
Yeah.
It's no longer just a SaaS and
Yeah.
professional services tool. It is a tool that any B2B company can be using, whether it's finance or pick your poison.
Absolutely. No, it's a huge learning. I was even thinking the other day with one of our brands, and I was thinking, gosh, if they just put every single one of their products through a YouTube education walkthrough, what a game changer that would make to every time someone searches that particular product. It's quite a technical product list, but very niche. If they just came up on YouTube and were able to help people know how to use it, how to operate it, who it's good for, and also just a bit about the product with pretty colors, miles ahead of their competitors.
Yeah. Where I find the biggest friction here is salespeople want leads. Generally, the conversation is I want more leads. I want people to come to me qualified. But then they're but I don't want to give away my pitch because that's my sales lever.
Yeah.
And it's that worked 10 years ago when 80% of people inquired to get information.
Yeah.
Now the expectation is I have all the information, and then the last 20% is unique to my situation. I've already made the decision that this is the right solution to me. I'm just checking the one or two things that I'm not really sure about when I speak to a salesperson.
Yeah.
And so you have to basically give away 80% of your sales pitch so that the final 20% actually happens.
Whew, it's so good. I really hope if you're listening here today that you take even just one thing from all of these different pieces, because all of it could really transform your business and your relationship to your customers, which at the end of the day is probably the most important thing that you could be focusing on, whether you work for a company or you own your own business.
Cool. Let's move on to, I had the biggest monk mode of my life in the last 2 days. If anyone knows me well, I struggle to sit longer than 30 minutes on one thing. It's just scatterbrain.
No, you just are high performing and okay, well, yeah, we can reflect. It can sway. But I believe that you are someone that's really good at being able to consolidate information quickly and get to a problem quickly. So if you can get to it quickly, you can move on. You know? Anyway.
Yeah, we can continue on that. But I was sitting and editing I spent the last 2.5 days just basically head down in an editing software, editing a YouTube video, which was a lot of fun. And it's been a while since I've been on the actual editing tools. And it was a good reminder to me. It was almost like a reset of yes, you can do this. I'd almost convince myself that the way my life operated was I can't focus on one thing for an extended period of time.
Totally.
I
I
don't
mean, the internet tells us that, right? Like our phones are all telling us that our attention spans are shorter, that we're, not able to focus as intently. But when you have a mission, a vision, and you had someone next to you as well that was also working on the same project, and I feel like that energy of who you're next to and what they're working on deeply impacts you and your end product.
Yeah, so it's just really cool to be in a monk mode, which is what we call in our business when we just lock in on one thing,
Yeah.
is the monk mode section.
You can do more of it.
Well, I'd love to. Like, I feel like this is like a realization. It's like the moment where you become aware of something. It's like, wow, this is possible.
What's going to be your next monk mode
Oh,
project?
well, I
I know
still
what
need to
it is.
finish that project, and then the website
Yeah.
is like finishing the website is.
Yes.
I feel like I got a bit of a monk mode on the weekend. I got
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 hours, but not long enough to like really make a move. It needs to be like a 3 or 4 day project.
Yeah. I think we should do a lot more of those because you can walk away with then like such a great asset or such a great outcome versus working on it here or there and just not really getting the tailwinds of that focus.
I think one of the lessons is I can't leave the monk mode until it's finished,
Yeah.
which can be a bit
It's so
scary. Like the concept of like, doesn't matter what else is happening in your life, you just need to fit. Not like like in the work life, like there's always things happening, but it's like I am focused on finishing this.
Well, you let other things pile up, which is fine. It was just a decision that you had to make to be able to get to the end product.
Yeah, well, it's still not finished. That's the thing. It's like
Oh,
it's like
true.
these things. Like I actually now on the other side of that 2.5 days, it's like I probably need another day and a half just to wrap it. And like I shouldn't be coming back, right? Like even today, I shouldn't be coming back until that's finished. And
Okay.
so, like,
We can discuss. Maybe I can take some of
yeah,
your work off you.
but for future monk modes, like if you're going into these moments, I think like don't leave until you finish.
Well, if you physically need to sleep, sleep, but then
Yeah,
block out
sorry.
your next day.
Like don't start something else until it's finished. Like learn from me because you kind of get a bit of a sugar hit of like,
Yeah.
oh, I've kind of got close to finishing it, but it's not finished. And it's
Correct.
gonna drag on
It will, and
for
you'll think
weeks.
about it, and then, yeah, it's
No,
just a
it's
bit of
got
a cycle. So, no, I think it's a very empowering point to be able to think of different projects that you want to achieve and just go monk mode on them, like carve out days at a time to work on it. Yes, there will be things that fall. Yes, there will be responses that you might not be able to get back to. However, that thing that has been at the top of your list for the last year will have some solid groundwork and should be finished, which is probably the most rewarding and relieving thing of all.
Yeah, I learn a lot from our team here. I think they're very good at finishing things.
Yeah.
I think you and I are, that's probably our weakness. Like we can't.
I'm actually good at the very end. Like I can finish something.
Yeah, you're a finisher.
Yeah, I'm the person that someone will give me something at 80% and then I will get it to 100%. Like I don't.
That's your strength. Whereas I could get something from 0 to 80.
Yeah, so it's good. So you just hand it over.
Yeah.
But I want you to learn the skill of getting
No.
it to 100 because I think that's where the impact can be
Yeah.
is in that last 20% because people recognize the subtext of whether you deliver something at 80 or whether if you can get it to that 100. And that last 20% is like the mental fortitude sometimes to like iterate and perfect it is hard. But it's where all the reward comes, I believe, and
Yeah.
sets you apart.
I don't know about you guys, but or about you, Von. But
Yeah.
when you learn about a topic, the first 80% is so interesting. It's just like you can get there just
Depends on the
about.
topic.
Yeah, but you're like, oh wow, this is new information. And then like if you study it in like a course or you
Mm.
study it at school or study it for like months and months at a time, that like the really nitty-gritty stuff of like the intricacies of A and B, that's where it's like that's almost a
Oh,
common experience. And that's where people are like, oh, I'm so overstudying. Like I've
yeah,
lost interest in the topic versus like
correct.
that's why I don't think I could ever do a PhD. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. We're talking about subtext matters.
Yeah, we can. I definitely believe that coming back to that little bit of extra detail, I think that people are a lot more aware than maybe not that we think, but I think it's just something to be aware of is when you're putting out, say, a piece of content or you're talking to somebody, I think just showing up as much as you can as to who you are. And also don't be afraid to, of course, deliver yourself into someone that you want to level up to. But I do believe you still need to remain authentic and be able to put forward as is, if that makes
How did
sense.
this come up?
Well, we were discussing, so I put up like a video that was like a morning in my life. Thank goodness I put that, not like my morning routine or something, because I was up at 5:30. I'm not up at 5:30 every day. I'm up at 5:30 twice a week, maybe. Like it's not a super common part of my life. But my friend messaged me being like, "You're not up at 5:30. Why are you saying that you're up at 5:30?" And I was like, "I was up at 5:30 that day." But it was so funny that she noticed, and I think there was one other person that noticed as well, that that wasn't my normal day, even though my language of my video didn't say that was my normal day. But it was so funny the attention to detail that people had that I didn't really realize that maybe I could have caveated, or I don't have to explain myself to everybody, but it taught me a very fundamental lesson around the little things that you say or the little things that you do, just being as authentic as possible is what I believe will help you build such a strong connection. Like I've been there before where I'll watch a video with something and I love 80% of their videos. And then there's something that they do that I'm like, you weren't being truthful or you weren't being honest about that particular thing. And then it does deprecate my trust a little bit with that person over time.
And how does this play out in a business sense?
Well, I think that if you're looking or interpreting data or results at a very basic level, I think if you're seeing something that needs flagging for, a reduction in spend or expansion and growth, that you should be upfront about it and be honest about it. Like I'm from a business sense, I think that that is a very important way to be able to show up as is, as like, what does everything say and what does it mean fundamentally? Not just kind of scooting a message that maybe favors your desired outcome. Because I feel people can see, like I don't know, the data sets are there. And so it's just a good reminder that,
Yeah, yeah. It just
yeah,
comes back to like the authenticity of who you are.
yes.
One of the things I've found the most useful in the last probably 3 to 4 weeks in conversations around new business opportunities is bringing really complex problems back to very simple metaphors and using
Yes.
metaphors as a tool for storytelling.
Yes, agreed. And even for training, so for upskilling and bringing in, say, new team and learning new skills, I did my first session of like teaching someone meta ads reporting. Boring, but not boring. I love it. But I started off quite advanced, like how I interpret it today. And I felt like walking away from that conversation, I went, oh no, I feel like I've set them up for failure because I haven't brought them back to the fundamental basics, storytelling, having them really critically think it through. So then we did another session together, and this one was very much like, let's pretend like we're talking about an apple or a surfboard and brought it all the way back down to the one-to-one fundamentals. And they walked away knowing so many of the metrics, feeling really empowered, and also having a recall of the stories that got told in that particular session. And I just saw the radical difference
Mm.
of not only buy-in, but also just understanding of the world through the metaphors and through the stories that were told throughout that training session.
Yeah, I've coined a term now in I use two stories. And so to overcome two objections. The first objection is like, oh, I've worked with so many marketing agencies before. And I say, oh, like I've spoken to so many marketing agencies, I'm not sure who to trust. And I said, I guess the coin term that I've come to is marketing agencies are like real estate agents for professional services.
You can't say that, Sam.
I say,
Real
I say,
estate is
no,
an incredible profession.
exactly. But the stigma
Yeah,
of
sure.
marketing agency, it's
So annoying. For anyone who's listening in real estate or in marketing, it's so unfortunate. And I understand people's hesitations or preconceived views, but I also believe that they are two very impactful and helpful service offerings that you just need the right people.
exactly. Well, this is the exact, I guess, using this as a metaphor to say like, okay, 20 to probably 10 to 20% of the industry is incredible,
Yes.
right? And so, and particularly in our industry, there's a big long tail of people who have
Yes.
actually never run a Facebook ad in their life.
Oh,
10 to 20% of the industry is incredible, but it gets tarnished by a group of people who give us a reputation. And so that in a conversation with people who are considering marketing agencies or considering working with us, they can relate to it because it's a personal experience.
yes.
And so the other objection, or I guess other conversation that I use is, or metaphor is, someone says, "What do you do?" And coming back to simple storytelling, my response is always, if they're not a technical marketing person, is we just chase people around the internet. Because people
They can understand that.
they can understand it, right? And so the purpose of this whole using metaphors or using simple storytelling to get across a really complex message. If I said to them, we create campaigns in Meta and then we target people based on their interests and then we measure all their performance and optimize it, like that is just like really, really complicated for someone who's not in marketing.
Correct. Yeah, they wouldn't walk away understanding what that end product
There's a
is.
lot of jargon.
I think that's a really good takeaway for anyone in their business, for any service offering that they have or for anything that they're doing, is bringing it back to that very simple fundamental metaphor or story that can link it to a very relatable, universally accepted way of seeing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like explaining to a fourth grader.
Yeah, essentially. I think if you can walk away thinking about looking at your website copy or even in the way that you talk online in your copy or even in your content marketing, coming back full circle, think about the viewer and think about the way that they would need to be educated way back to the basics and the power of storytelling to be able to emotionally connect, but also as a recall way to be able to always go back to, oh, yeah, ads are chasing people around the internet. Like, fundamentally, I understand and can visualize that. So, yeah, huge. I think, once again, something that we can all reflect and start to iterate within what we do in our day to day.
I think we'll see it more and more. Like I'm rebuilding the website at the moment, and the landing pages that we're building, and the key headings, which is the top bit of the website when you land on it, I'm starting to just like write as if I'm talking to a friend. Whereas I look at a bunch of other,
I might review that.
yeah, but less sophistication and more just genuinely talking to humans. Because that's what we're doing. We're having like conversations.
We always want to have that empowering touch, so I understand the balance.
Yeah. Anyway, use stories wherever you can is what
Big
we're
takeaway.
particularly in training.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up here. We really appreciate your view and listen. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this YouTube channel and also subscribe to Spotify. If you are listening on there, I think you can hit the follow button. And if you leave a review, that would mean the world to us. Have a lovely day, and we will see you next time.